So what we're starting to see from these cases is some really interesting ideas about what's good and bad in the world of video games specifically, but also in how we deal with our stuff. And these all kind of fall into the category of there's a way you're supposed to use your things. And if you don't use your things the way you're supposed to use your things, you're a bad person. But there's another way of looking at it, which falls into this creativity thing, and that's if you don't use your stuff the way the designers want you to use your stuff, you're taking responsibility for your life. You're learning some useful skills. You're saying, I'm not going to be dictated to by some company somewhere when I paid them $60, $80, so that I can have fun. You know, I want to have fun the way I want to have fun. I bought your game, you got your money, shut up and go away. And I'm going to take charge of my stuff and use it the way I want to. And some of the other things that fall into creativity come up in a lot of other fields. One of those that I want to end on is machinima, which is using a game completely not the way the designers wanted. So instead of playing some game where you're trying to, win or gank 14-year-olds or whatever, you're making a movie. You're making real cinema just with the tools of the game. And some of this stuff is incredibly gorgeous. And hopefully if this works, I'll end on something that's not gorgeous, but kind of stupid, which is fun. And you see this in other fields. In some cases, it's one of the really most important issues of how we deal with our stuff. And that's remix, something called remix. And in music, it's taking some other people's stuff, sampling it, putting in your own creativity, and creating some entirely new work of art. Now, in most of the way we've viewed the world, we've viewed creativity for 1,000 years, that's like the highest art. We were talking before we started about Shakespeare. And, Shakespeare is like the greatest literary figure in the English language. And he did not invent his plots. He remixed them. He took stuff that was around in his time that other people had written, was playing in other theaters. He took some old folk stories. He took, stories he'd heard elsewhere, mixed them together, added in his creativity, and became the greatest writer in the English language. Now, when we do that with music, we're copyright violators. And we can go to jail. There's federal law against using other people's copyrighted stuff in music, in movies, in any kind of creative production. And if those laws had applied in Shakespeare's time, we wouldn't have Shakespeare. That might be a problem. So one of the things this all adds up to is when we think about cheating in video games, we can say, oh, yeah, I'm a bad person. Or we could say, I'm taking charge of my stuff. I'm not going to be dictated to by people who made things. I'm not going to be dictated to by corporations who are just out to make sure that they squeeze every last buck out of me. But I'm going to engage with my tech. I'm going to understand it. I'm going to work with it. I'm going to break it open. I'm going to remix it. I'm going to make something new. I'm going to create some art. Or I'm going to gang 14-year-olds. Come on. Let's be honest. But still, it's a way of taking responsibility for ourselves and for our tech. And maybe that's cheating. Maybe that makes us bad. But maybe it's a way of really asserting our power and controlling our lives. Anybody got any questions?